Good afternoon. My name is Inga Cotton. I'm the founder and executive director of San Antonio Charter Moms, and these are Charter Moms Chats, and we do live videos to talk about what parents need to know to make sure their kids are getting a great education in spite of the pandemic and in spite of all that's going on in the world. And so today we're featuring the story of a parent advocate, and our guest is Wendy Gonzales-Neal. And I met Wendy years ago when we were both involved with Families Empowered, which is a Houston-based nonprofit. And I've watched Wendy's activism grow, and she founded a nonprofit called My Child, My Voice, which does great work. And there's also, she is a delegate for Texas for the National Parents Union. And I'm super excited about that because that's really getting off the ground. And there's a guest post today. It's Wendy's kind of parent perspective blog post, and she wrote that, and I was proud to edit it. It's on the blog, and you can read that blog post by clicking on the link in the description of the video. So I highly encourage reading that post, and you can follow her on social media. You can follow National Parents Union on social media. You can click through and read lots of good stuff. But it's Wendy's story. But I'm really happy to have her on Charter Moms Chats so that you can hear from Wendy about her story. So welcome and thank you.
No, thank you for inviting me. It's always a pleasure, collaborating with you. We've been friends for quite a while, like you were mentioning, coming on from, Families in Power, because we're both strong advocates when it comes to education. So thank you. Glad to be here.
So, so the first two questions I want to ask you are about both of these organizations, like the one you created and the one that you are involved in. So first, talk about My Child, My Voice, and which you founded in 2018. And so kind of what's the mission and what are some of your strategies?
Oh, well, that's a good question. I mean, it started for me being a parent, with my kids. I mean, I'm a mom of 4 adult kids and a grandmother of 2, Olivia and Phoenix. And it's actually started with my youngest son when it came to, being an education activist. I mean, I still was very involved with my kids' education, but it took a turn for my youngest son going to a public charter school that opened my eyes to education and everything around it. And that's how I started really being that mom that was already engaged and learning more because, the key is always keep learning, And that's how I kind of, started off like that, getting into the education world.
Yeah, I like how in the post, like you call yourself education mom, because that's what other parents would come to you and ask about that. Okay, so talk about the National Parents Union. I love this idea that it's a union for parents. So we can band together and make trouble, and it's on a national scale, so we can make big trouble.
Yes, I mean, I was excited to be asked to be the Texas delegate. Now it's official. I also have a co-delegate, which is Shay Mackin, who is also another Texas delegate for the National Parents Union. But I was very honored to be asked, to become not only just a member, but also to become the Texas delegate. Carrie Rodriguez, our chief, mom in chief is what we call her. She's the president, started this work because, she, like the rest of us, like me and you, as we were seeing, we had to have, parents' voices at the table into these education conversations. But she's like, you know what, we got to step it up. We got to bring it up to a national level. And she's just started getting people and organizing. And that's what she's great about. One of the things that she's great about is organizing. And, it came the birth of National Parents Union. And you don't have to be more of somebody that's in a nonprofit. You can be an everyday parent like me and join in with National Parents Union at no cost. You get free training, you get network, you get to meet other parents who are doing a lot of work in different states. Like I said, we're national. But we're bringing a lot of things on the table, like when it comes to education, policy, voting. I mean, and I'm thinking of all these committees that we have at National Parents Union. We have a policy committee. We have, Every Family Votes committee, education committee. I mean, you name it, we got it. It's about parents and putting our kids first. And that's what we always need to remember, because we have like 5 statement values. And fun fact about that is when we all convened this year back in January and we came together, we came in unison, all the members, to create these 5, like statement values of National Parents Union. And the one that really, really sticks to me, because it's true and close to my heart, is we believe our children should always be the core, of our agenda in every decision that we make. And it's our kids. I mean, we do it, you do it, I do it, all of us do that. Our kids are first, right? And that's what I love about, that particular statement. And another one that really, really, gets to me, like I said, there's 5, is we believe families have a powerful voice that should be influencing like educational and political policies and practices at not only just on a national level, but like local, state, as I mentioned, national level. And I think the last one that really gets me is we believe in order to affect change and strengthen families, we must provide them with resources and opportunities to develop their talents and share best practices. I mean, who does that, in an organization like this? And it's all free. You want to learn, we're here. You need help, call us. We'll come for you, we'll help you. And that's what National Parents Union is. And it's not just parents. I can't say it's just parents that are in, that are members. There are nonprofit organizations that are partnering with us, and as well as other activists who believe in the same values as we do that are in our organization. And we're trying to make change.
Yeah, it's really exciting. And I've been following the progress of it, and since we've been talking, like I guess last month I got my paperwork in to be a member and for SI Charter Moms to be an organizational member, and I'm really excited about the events that are coming up. And so and anybody who's watching, be sure to be a member of the San Antonio Charter Moms discussion group, because we share the upcoming events for National Parents Union. We always share them, and there's some they get amazing speakers for the and there's there's like real talk, like mom talk, like you and Shay talking. There's activities for kids, and then there's these like amazing speakers, right? Like Dolores Huerta is coming in January, right, for a virtual event. So
yes, I mean, I am so excited to hear about that. I mean, she's one I've always looked up to, one of my, superhero women that I always think of, a civil rights activist to a women's, activist, Dolores Huerta is coming in on January 7th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it is free. It's virtual. Anybody can come and attend and listen to this. But this is where parents, experts, advocates from across the country that are will be sharing their thoughts and hear, different perspective around the future of our kids' education. I mean, this is a big topic right now, but to have Dolores Huerta at the table with the rest of us is even bigger, because we're trying to build that parent power, right? And so it is something free to register. You can go to National Parents Union website and look up NPU Town Hall, or there you go. She has the website there, and you can register. Simple, easy peasy. Once you register, you can ask your questions if you think it's a question, especially if you want to ask Dolores Huerta. And then there's going to be some other parent leaders on, the panel. So please tune in. I hope to see all of y'all there. It's right around the corner, and I just can't wait. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm really excited too. Yeah, I'm going to make sure to get registered before the holidays, because I know that.
And I'm excited for you being a member.
Yeah, I am too. Well, I want to talk about the guest post that you wrote, the guest blog. And like I said, there's a link to it in the description of the video. So you can see Wendy here on video, but also you can read her words in the blog post. So it's such a great story, because you talk about what your parents did for you when you were growing up. And so I was wondering if you could talk about kind of like the example that they set as involved parents.
Well, I mean, I had, my parents were my first teachers, and I think everybody's that way, right? I grew up on the south side of Houston, a daughter of an immigrant mother and a father Chicano from Houston, Texas. They were involved in my, not only mine, but my sister's education by actually being involved and knowing the school counselors at our schools, knowing all of our teachers, and not just our teachers, our principals, system principals, and they knew them by first name basis. I mean, and they knew my parents because they called. And not only that, they checked our grades like a hawk. And because my parents did that, they were able to notice anything or with me, especially with me, not just my sisters. Like if we see that we're slipping in our grades, if they couldn't help us, they found resources to help us in our education. And that was, this is what I loved about my parents is they found it, whether it be the Houston Public Library, whether it be the YMCA that had a program going on, they found things that would help us because, my dad, only had he didn't have a college degree and neither did my mom. My mom had a high school degree. My dad had some college, but the thing is getting involved. And that's what my parents did. And I think the thing that I remember the most growing up is when I was in high school, when my parents noticed that my grades were slipping. But not only that, I was withdrawing. I was being more secluded. And what they found out was I was being bullied, but not by my peers, but the staff at my high school. And my dad was furious because my dad was, he was a civil rights activist when he was younger. And so he was furious to know that this particular staff members were actually targeting Latinos in our school. So I wasn't the only one being targeted. But my parents were there talking. They made friendships with all the other principals and say, hey, how can you help my daughter? How do we resolve this? And he made sure that these administrators were educated when it comes to this. And my parents also worked a lot with my counselors. Like if they saw, with my grades, they were constantly up at the school talking to the counselors, even though they were encouraging them like, hey, we don't want her being pulled out of this class. My parents like, she's failing. I don't want her to fail the semester. So put her in an intermediate class, right? And that's when I flourished because I was getting that support from my parents saying, you are learning a little different. That's okay. We just got to find those tools and resources to help you. And sometimes it might be a person that can help you. And I had teachers, that really did. My parents connected me with the teachers. And sometimes they weren't my regular teachers to help me in school. And then that's where my teenage years, flourished, where I became a barely passing, failing school to, passing, but I wind up being a mentor for other students and help them tutor because that's how much confidence I had in myself that I could help others. And that's how I started with my parents, by them, and encouraging me and telling me, you're doing a great job and you even did more than what we thought. You're helping other students. And that's how I started with my parents.
Yeah. That's just a beautiful story. I can only imagine how angry your dad was to find out that the staff were acting that way, and and that they were doing it to not just you but other Hispanic students, other Latinos. Like that's horrible. But it's not. Unfortunately, I mean, it's not. It does happen, and that's where like parents, being observant and noticing that something's changing. That's so important.
Yeah, I was fortunate. My parents were very observant in like I said, not just in our education, but in us, like if my parents did not notice, most parents would say, oh, she's slipping in her grades. But my parents started seeing me emotionally and realizing there's something else going on other than her grades. And they started asking questions. And then I finally, opened up and told them what was going on in my school because I thought if I said anything, I would actually get in trouble.
Yeah.
And then too, with some of my classes, I really felt like, how come I'm not getting this content? How come I'm not understanding what they're teaching me? And my mom would always tell me, we all learn differently and we just got to figure out how you learn. And so, that's that's how I flourished, going to school because I had my parents always encourage me, and not just me, but my sisters when it comes to our education.
Yeah. So in the wonderful blog post that you wrote, you talk about how your parents raised you, but then also what you did for your own children, and in particular Joshua. So I was wondering if you could share kind of what that journey was like, and finding out that there's this thing called charter school. Like, I remember that myself. I need to write that down. But yeah, like it's like, wait, there's this other thing. There's another type of school.
Right, because my father used to say, no one is ever too old or too young to learn. That was one thing he would always tell us. He goes, I'm still learning even at my age. And that's one thing that's been instilled into me since I was a kid. And I took what, my parents' wisdom and their love and their encouragement, and I did the same thing for my kids. But when it came, like I mentioned, I'm a mother of 4, but it was my youngest that I was seeing struggling in school when he was in middle school, about to transition to high school, where we noticed me and my husband were always getting calls, and Joshua is not one that really doesn't get in trouble. And so when you're getting a call from the school, you're like, okay, what's up? All I know is that he used to talk a lot in class, and he would tell me, and I said, son, are you disrupting the class? And he goes, no, Mom, I always finish my work early. We'll come to find out the reason why we were getting the calls is he would finish his work he would finish it early, and then he got bored. And then he would talk to someone next to him because he's like, are you done? Can you talk? And the next thing you know, they're all talking. And even though we worked with the teacher to encourage to get, extra work, he would finish it. That's when we realized we needed something more challenging for Joshua. And some parents and friends told us about charter schools. And where I live at the time, actually it still is now I think about it, there's not really a lot of school options. We only have private school or our traditional neighborhood schools. We didn't have the means to uproot our family, to another district, or the means to pay for a private school. So when they were telling me about charter schools and what all they were doing for kids and challenging them, but not only that, sending them to college, well, this one particular charter school was. And me and my husband were like, that's what we want for Josh. And we were fortunate enough, we applied. We were blessed that he got accepted to a public charter school here in Houston. And that's where Joshua just thrived. I no longer got calls from the school saying he was disrupting the class. Actually, what made me cry as a mom is because he was very active in soccer. And when he went to high school to start his new charter school, they had soccer tryouts. And he's like, Mom, I'm just letting you know, I'm not going to start, soccer because I want to concentrate on my studies. And I'm like, what? And my Josh is looking at me because I'm literally crying. And then he goes, Mom, are you okay? And I was like, no, you just made me so proud because kids don't say that. Like what kid would say that? So that really touched my heart when it came, to that, where his teachers became, allies. Even his own principal became his allies when he needed them. He was challenged in his classes. He was not only that, he was being introduced to colleges. I didn't even know colleges when I was in 9th grade. They would do trips to the point where he became friends with even the recruiters for the colleges. And so, that tells you how much he thrived there. And in 2018, Joshua graduated from Iowa State University with a degree in software engineering. And now he works for a robotics company in Boston.
Wow, that's so cool. That's amazing. That's just a great story. That's not what you expect to hear from your brand new high school student.
And not only that, we wound up getting custody of my oldest niece later on. And we were able to, when we did, we asked if we can, the charter school had a policy where if one sibling was in, another sibling can get in during a wait list, but they get more of a priority. And so she was able to, she got accepted. And this is where I really thrived as well, because I learned all about special education, because we did not know that my niece was dyslexic and had Erlands. And I don't know if you knew, a lot of people don't know what Erlands is. And Erlands is where if a student is looking and trying to read, the words are moving like a wave. Wow. And they're trying to focus and they wind up getting headaches. And a lot of times they just need an overlay, and it's a color overlay. Each student is different. to help them focus, and it no longer moves. It stays in place. But it was the charter school that identified this for my niece. And she was also one that was, well, she was a little bit different, but she was barely passing because they didn't identify her in her elementary school. They just thought she had a language barrier. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, when those faulty assumptions, they can make a lot of trouble. So
yeah, because that's where we found out when we got her records, when we look back at it, they actually they tested her with a dyslexia bundle, but they never identified her as being dyslexic.
Wow.
So we were fortunate enough, I got to know the director of special education at the public charter school. She tested her, and oh my God, you should have seen the difference with my niece, because she would cry every night because it would take her hours to work. And she thought something was wrong with her because she couldn't understand why she wasn't understanding why was it so difficult for her to do her work. Once we found that out and we got the tools and then how to support her, she flourished.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, for my own son, like he had the school identified that he needed vision therapy, and that was something like one eye was doing all the work, and he had such a good memory that he could kind of bluff his way through the vision chart. But once they like really tested him, they're like, no, this, and then I wish we'd done it sooner, but once we did, it really helped with his reading comprehension. And like who would have thought? Like I wouldn't have thought there was a connection that way. But because it's thank goodness for like schools that have good procedures. They're paying attention to what the kids are doing. They point you in the right direction to get the help you need, and it gets them back on track, and then they help them get caught up. And that's what needs to happen. Like every kid needs to be in an environment where the adults are observant and caring and communicate with the parents and point you in the right direction to help get your kid the help that they need.
Yep, exactly. Because my two oldest ones, or my three oldest ones, they went to the neighborhood school, even though we were very, involved in their school and providing extra resources. We felt that was the best fit for them. But for Joshua, it was totally different, where he needed something more, and he thrived.
Yeah. So one thing you talk about in the blog post is about how, like, through being an advocate for Joshua and for your niece, and then other parents started coming up to you and asking you questions, and then they're like, how did you get to be education mom? So I love that part of it, because it's like, it's like once you start doing it for your own family, and this is kind of my journey as well. It's like, I was trying to figure this out for my own kids and realizing this is really hard. Like nobody should have to like overcome this by themselves. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. It's that journey. I mean, it was the parents that gave me that nickname, the education mom. Every time I got a referral, a parent goes, they told me to call you you're the education mom. And I'm like, okay. I was like, it just started, it came about. And from time to time, I would get a parent that would ask me, did you go to college to learn all this, school information? Because, I was having what I called coffee chats. I would meet parents at coffee shops or, donut shops, wherever I could meet a parent like you. I was trying to educate them on the things that I learned and was still learning. And I basically was saying, no, I don't have a college degree. I'm an everyday parent like you who took 2 steps forward and started asking questions and attended parent sessions like you are today, and how to advocate for your kid. I mean, that's how I started. And with that, my advocacy journey just soared, where I was able to take my monthly or my weekly chats into parent sessions, where I was teaching parents about the school ratings, the school finance, because, when you hear it on the news, it's different. You're like, what does that mean? Oh my God, I just realized that my child is in a school has an F rating. What does that mean? And so we were teaching them about, all of that information. You have a question about the school rating, school finance, and understanding school boards. And yes, you can go to a school board and speak and give suggestions and talk about items on the agenda, or something that you want to talk to your trustee about. But also the main important thing is understanding the education options, because like me, I didn't know what a charter school was at the beginning. I was listening to word of mouth, and somebody told me, you've got to go check out these schools. And from there, I started also educating parents on the different, education options, and then telling them, hey, there's some new schools that are opening. Check this out. Here's a private school. Here's a magnet program, or any type of school. And I would tell them, because a lot of them, they would just say, well, I thought I can just go to my neighborhood school. Nope, you have that option to go to any school. You just got to figure out, is this the right choice for my child, And that was the best thing, doing that, to where we took that to having a parents go to Austin to testify in support of education bills. That, I think, was my highlight, besides hearing parents coming back to me and saying, I took everything of your sessions to another level. And then I had one mom where she just took it to another level. She started teaching her networks of families about, how to testify, how to talk to legislators. And today she's a speaker about, advocacy, dyslexia. I mean, it's just awesome and then she sits on one of the Governor Abbott's advisory board. So, those are the moments. It's not about us. It's about the parents that are doing this and showing other parents you can do this. We are everyday parents making changes for our kids' education.
Yeah, I think that's a really important takeaway. Is I never. People have asked me, "Oh, were you a teacher before?" Or did I'm like, dude, I knew nothing about education.
Right?
Nothing. So I mean, I went to law school. I worked in law firms. I I would ghostwrite opinions for judges. That was my professional experience before I became a mom, and then I got radicalized because I was like, this is really hard. I'm not okay with how this system works. There's I got to do something about this. And then, like you said, when you see the people who you talk to, and you see the light bulb go off and the wheels start turning, and then they launch, and then you see them testifying or holding their own events, and it's yay.
I know, because I actually met this mom at a school fair. We were trying to encourage people to write letters to their legislator, and she wrote one, and I was so blown away by her letter. I called her and I said, your letter can encourage more families, to speak up, and then this will get the attention of, to elected officials. And she was like, mine, because she was a unicorn. And I call her a unicorn because, all of her kids went to different types of schools, to a public charter school, to a private school, to a traditional school. And I was like, how do you do that? But she says, because all of that is what worked for them. And she's like, I just had to make it work. And I came here to see if I need to change them or move one. Because I think the private school, they only went to a certain grade level. And so she was ready to look for another school. And that's how engaged she was, to learn about all of this. And then she became a more engaged mom, because I can't say she wasn't engaged. Actually, she was a former teacher, from New York. And so she took what she learned as a teacher, because she used to say she used to be against school choice, to be honest. She told me honestly, she goes, I was against all this, because they told us it was bad, and this is what, she told me. And she goes, but when I became a mom, I had to advocate what was best for my kids, not for the, school. I'm not saying, bad about the school itself, but she goes, my kids are first, and I got to figure out how to support them. And that's what she did.
Yeah.
And it's just so awesome to hear, these stories. And I've heard from different, parents. And then it makes me cry when they come to you and say, we're so happy where, our kids at, or that they can pick up the phone and call me. I had a mom during, I actually had a lot of parents call me during COVID. I'm stuck, we're doing Zoom. I don't have internet. What does that mean? And I'm bilingual. So speaking to a lot of Spanish speakers here in Houston, they were like, what does that mean? I can't get on this call. And to just give them 5 minutes of your time to show them how to work Zoom was the best thing I could ever give her over the phone. Yeah. It's those type of stories that, encourage me to do even more for families.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why, what's happening with National Parents Union is so exciting, because it's increasing the scale that these things are happening at. right? It's adding organization, and then like, the training and stuff that that parents are getting. And yeah, it's just super exciting. I know that in 2021, that's going to be like a bigger and bigger part of the work that we do, is supporting that.
I know, and that's what I love. Not only just our local work. I mean, with National Parents Union, we're combining those works, because if it's something that I don't have or you don't have in your organization, they're like, hey, guess what? Here you go. Here's some information. Pass it on to your families. It's not like, you have to pay to do this.
Yeah. It starts with like those coffee meetings, like you said.
Right.
Like I actually have like in my I'm a Yelp Elite member in San Antonio, and I have a bookmarked list of it's called Office Hours, and it's like, so it's like I set up that map so that if I was like, okay, I need to meet with somebody, oh, they're in Castle Hills, okay, oh, here we go, here's a coffee shop in that neighborhood.
That is so true. That's actually helpful. You got you had it there. Me, I had to work with parents. Where do you live? And okay, tell me, where do you want to meet? And a lot of times either at Burger King, McDonald's, or Starbucks, or Dunkin' Donuts. So whatever they tell me, I met them there.
Yeah. No, I know that whatever coffee shop I can always get, like, well, it's funny because I don't even drink coffee. I drink green tea and hot chocolate. But those, you can always get good stuff at a coffee shop. So.
Oh yeah, that's very true. But I mean, with National Parents Union, I have to say, I'm just blown away with the work that we're doing and how much training that we're passing out for free. We even have a toolkit on our website for parents to download or to read, to tell them how to advocate. Who does that for free? Normally you got to pay for a toolkit like that, or what about our winter advocacy boot camp that's coming up this month? You can also find that information on our website. But I encourage you to become, like, for those people that are watching right now, check out National Parents Union, see all of the events that we have. All of this is free for you, because we need to stand up and speak up for our kids, and this is the way we do it. We get up, we rise up, and we unite, and we fight together. That was the thing that Carrie Rodriguez said to me when I met her here in Houston for the first time, because I didn't know who this sassy redhead short woman was. I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. She's just, and she knows it.
Yeah, she is. She's amazing. But she's so generous with her knowledge, her time, attention, and she wants to lift up other parents too. Like, so she's one of a kind, but she's lifting up, other parents, and it's really it's a team effort. Like you said, there was that convening where like everyone had to come together and find a set of, the statement of values that everyone could get behind.
Mm-hmm. That's very true.
So kind of for our last question, I want to kind of close out with like sort of advice to parents as if they're on this journey to becoming parent advocates, right? So like if they're watching this, they're obviously like getting curious about, how do I make education better? But what advice do you have on their journey to becoming, their own like education mom, education dad, education grandma?
Right. Or aunt or uncle or
right.
I mean, I believe parent voices occur as we're present, active, and we're the equal part of being in that discussion when it comes to education. So be part of that. Don't be silent. Speak up and be active in these education, conversation. We need to welcome it, not fear it. I know a lot of times I felt the same way. If I spoke up, they were going to do something against my kid. But I realized I'm doing this for my kid or kids. They need to have that education and support. Parental power is now, for the good of our children. The key is to keep educating yourself. As I remember I was saying, you're never too old or too young to learn. So keep doing that. And remember, National Parents Union's got you.
That's right. Okay. So I always like to close out with a call to action. And that is like, I want, if you're watching this video, well, definitely like, click through, look at the description of the video and, read the blog post, because it's beautiful. Like Wendy, your story, it's like, I'm just so honored to have this on our site.
Aww, thank you.
I want readers to click on National Parents Union, like follow them on social media, find the toolkit, look at the upcoming events, get registered for the event with Dolores Huerta in January. I'm so excited about that. And Yeah, there's gonna be lots of good stuff. You'll be hearing more about National Parents Union on SA Charter Moms.
Great. I know that. As like I see everything always talking about that, and I am so happy. And I want to thank you so much for allowing me to share my story. And I hope this is encouraging everybody else too. Sharing your story does make a difference, and letting parents know you're not alone. We're here together and we're going to fight together.
Yeah, no, this is what we do on Wednesdays usually is we're trying to feature more like teachers, students, parents, sharing stories, because it does change the world.
Yep, it sure does. One step at a time.
Yes, and you're never too old or too young to learn. I love that.
Yep, never. And I'm still learning, trust me.
Me too. Okay, well, Wendy, it's been wonderful having you on Charter Moms Chats, and I'm so proud to have your blog post on our site, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Great, thanks for the invite, and it was a pleasure being on the show.